Look, I can't help but think that now might be a good time for a little fire and ice. Please
Oh,
do not
there is
know.
never a good time for fire and ice.
What happens when you mix fire and ice?
Warm water, baby.
It's bubbling, baby.
Warm water! Warm water!
Ed, are we live?
Now we're live.
We're back. Tipton and I, the Iceman, and along with our buddy Dave, are giving us I don't know if I deserve this introduction. Da-da-da-da-da. Anyways, I'm back.
I think there might be like licensing issues that we have with that song, guys. So we might want to be careful with that. That's the NFL on Fox. We don't want that. We don't want that going over there.
Just listening to him, that's all.
I'm messing with you guys. So let me know if Eddie got that link. Fire and Ice, Brandon the Iceman Cone, Mike Tipton. We are out here live at Union Draft House. Yay!
Yay!
Hey.
We got things going. Huh?
Yes, we finally got things going. It took a little while for us to get on out here. They got a whole bunch of specials. I want to give a shout out to our waitress. I can't remember her name right now because of everything else that I've been going through. But
She's a nice young lady,
yes,
though.
Ariana,
like Ariana Grande.
Yes, Ariana. So thank you to Ariana. Thank you to our friends over here at Union Draft House for being willing to host us on such short notice. Yes, I told you all we were going to be at a different location, but that is in the past. This is where we are now, and that is all that's important to us. That is Brandon the Iceman Cone. I am Mike Tipton. Together we are Fire and Ice. We got our guy Daver out here with us as well. A lot of stuff to get to, Brandon. Our beloved Dallas Cowboys. You already can see I've moved on to basketball season. The Dallas Cowboys have a factory of sadness. The conveyor belt of depression continues to just keep on rolling and churning out nothing but the L's. You cannot spell Dallas without multiple L's, and that's what the Dallas Cowboys have given us. Before I get started on some of my stuff, because there may have been changes in opinions, what were your thoughts on the game? What are your thoughts on everything going around the Dallas Cowboys right now, Brandon?
Well, I mean, look, it certainly was a game that, despite everything that was going against them in terms of playing a team that was red hot with a great quarterback at the time, at least in Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, with an exceptional defense, great running game, and all of the above, it was a very winnable game that, unfortunately, they just couldn't take care of business at the end. But I wasn't surprised by the outcome. I myself did not think that they were going to win the game. And I'm going to say it right now. They have to move on from Dak Prescott. And I never thought I would say that, but he's not the answer. He's not the answer. I don't think McCarthy's the answer as your head coach. I'm really glad that Dan Quinn is staying as a defensive coordinator, but this team is never going to get over the hump with Dak Prescott as their quarterback. I'm going to say that right now with absolute certainty because he completely screws up when everything is on the line. And the fact that he threw those couple of crucial interceptions at the worst possible time was a sign that he's not the future of that franchise. Zeke Elliott needs to go. They need to pay Pollard, despite the injury. Unfortunately, he had broken ankle? So, I mean, the fact remains is that you need to pay Pollard, keep Pollard there, let Zeke go because his better days are behind him. You need to think about getting a good offseason quarterback or drafting another quarterback. And ultimately, I think that a coaching change as your head coach is something that you need to look at in the near future, because the bottom line is that this team cannot get out of the divisional round, despite the fact that they played a decent game overall. But when your quarterback is screwing up and making vital mistakes and you have bad clock management at the end, you will not beat anybody. And getting to the divisional round is simply not good enough. It's absolutely pathetic that this team lost again in the second round. Okay, they beat a weak Tampa Bay team in the first round. It was nice. Prescott looked great, but that was one game. And the second game, he screwed up royally, and it just is unacceptable.
Mike Young comments on the Facebook page, get over it. I love it when people put that out there. I was like, get over it. Meanwhile, there are hundreds of thousands of millions of people out there on the opposite end of the Dallas Cowboys spectrum, not allowing us to get over it. Weird how all that works, isn't it, Brandon? But anyway, thanks for the great work and comment there, nerd. Moving on. Whenever I look at the Dallas Cowboys, right, and I look at the stuff that they had to go through this season, you talk about them needing to fire the head coach. They did make some coaching changes. For people that don't know, they fired a lot of coordinators. Leon Lett was let go. A couple of other people, offensive line coach Joe Philbin was let go. as well. They didn't make the change I think a lot of people wanted them to make, which you alluded to, was fire Mike McCarthy. I'm not on that train. I don't think that if they fired Mike McCarthy and they went out and they got a Sean Payton, I don't know if that makes Dallas much better than what they currently are right now. Sean Payton's Super Bowl was eons before, and I guess that's an exaggeration, obviously, but it was well before Mike McCarthy's Super Bowl win, right? They both have that one Super Bowl win. So for me, it's hard for me to sit back and be like, oh, okay, well, you should, get rid of Mike McCarthy. Whenever I don't think that was the issue. It was Dakota Rain Prescott that threw those interceptions, and it was, a lot of clock management issues, right? Dalton Schultz, your tight end, catches the ball, doesn't move forward up the field, gets knocked backwards, the clock keeps rolling. Dalton Schultz catches the ball, doesn't drag his other foot, then you lose the yardage that you got in there to even give yourself a Hail Mary. And then obviously you've got to try to go for something that no one's ever seen before, which arguably had to be the dumbest play of all time, right? But ultimately, at the end of the day, it's not Mike McCarthy out on the field. It's not a bunch of all these other guys out there on the field. It's the players that are out there on the field. And it is an honor for us to bring out here on Fire and Ice, the hottest podcast in the city of El Paso, the one and only Eddie Morelos, joining us from the Sun Bowl Association. Eddie, what were your thoughts on that Dallas Cowboys game before we get into some of the really awesome stuff that you've been doing with the Sun Bowl Association?
I like that. Can you hear me? First of all, I want to make sure that you can hear me. Okay, cool. I like that you start off with the Cowboys question and what did I think of it? Hey, loved it. Loved it.
That's what I'm saying. I'm teeing you up to gloat and have fun.
Yeah, I loved it. And my mother's a big time Cowboys fan. They had a Cowboys party. And it was all the OGs from where I'm from, Lordsburg, New Mexico. It's all her people, all the OGs, we'll call them. And I said, I would not walk into that party and talk crap to you guys, even though I would want to, because I would be literally thrown out of that household, and maybe even hit up upside the head a little bit here and there. So loved it. Dak Prescott is not the answer, I don't think, for the Cowboys. My mother, it's funny, we had a great conversation about, I asked her who would she have rather have had. Would she have rather had Tony Romo or Dak Prescott? And she's like, neither one of them. So, I mean, sorry, Cowboys fans, but you guys are just as equal as my team, the Bears, because neither one of us made it to the Super Bowl. Neither one of our teams will win the Super Bowl. However, the Bears do have the number one pick this year. I just hope the powers that be of the Chicago Bears make good decisions for their choices.
Oh, they will too. They're going to trade that number one pick to Houston, who completely screwed up. They should have had the number one pick, and they're going to get a lot for it. And they're hopefully going to not be morons going forward and build a decent organization around Justin Fields, who is the future of that organization. But it is the Bears, though.
I was about to say, how do you build an organization whenever you do have the number one overall pick? You can go out, build your offensive line, address all that stuff, right? The one thing that I will caution against, though, Eddie, is like, you sit there and say the Cowboys are the same as the Bears. I was 1 year old whenever the Bears won their last Super Bowl.
You know what? You can go ahead and say that, and the Cowboys do have more championships. But presently, in present times, where the people that will remember present times, we're pretty much the same.
Okay, so where do you sit on this thing? Because I'm glad that I've got you and Brandon here. We got a couple of other people that I can put this opinion out there, and we can kind of see what we think of these things, right? I'm not the type of person that I'll be like, oh, this team made a championship game, right? Because I've been seeing these memes. This team has made a championship game. It's not just because Dallas missed it this year. This is just the way I feel, right? Even if you make the Super Bowl, you didn't win the Super Bowl. There's only one winner at the end of the year, and the whole concept of this game is to be the winner, right? Is 100%. There any solace? Is there any solace, or like a good job, guys? You made it to the NFC Championship game. Do you feel that way, or are you kind of like me, where it's either the championship or you didn't win anything at all?
Well, it's funny. I was just listening yesterday. They were talking about Joe Burrow, right? And what's his legacy going to be, right? And let's just say he does make it to the Super Bowl again, and that he does lose again. Is he going to be like Jim Kelly? does that make him Jim Kelly-ish? You know what I'm saying? And you're right. What you get there, it's like they always say, what's the cliche? You don't remember who comes in second. You know what I mean? You always remember the winners, and that's what it's about. I mean, let's think about for example, what we just saw, the Sun Bowl. We're gonna remember Pitt because how they came from behind and they made a long field goal there at the end. And I mean, you might remember UCLA a little bit, but we're going to remember the winners.
And history always remembers the winners, and that's the bottom line. And I have to say this about Joe Burrow. I personally think the kid's going to win a Super Bowl, if not this year, then sooner rather than later, because he is a great quarterback. And I think that it's quite an accomplishment being able to lead his team back to the AFC Championship game. Again, with all that being said, the bottom line in sports in general, even if you just get one, okay, even if those great teams, those Buffalo Bills teams of the 90s, if they just get that first one against the Giants, we remember them as maybe being one of the greatest teams in football history, as opposed to being one of the greatest losers in football history. So the point is, in the end, I don't give two craps, even if you're like the Chiefs and they ended up just winning that one that they did a few years back, at least you got that one and people will remember you for that one.
Once again, our guy Eddie Morelos from the Sun Bowl Association joining us here on Fire and Ice. We are live at Union Draft House, 730 Sunland Park on the west side of El Paso, in the parking lot of Sunland Park Mall. So come on out here, joining us. Tell them Tip sent you. It probably won't mean anything, but just tell them Tip sent you to make me feel good. Placate to my ego, please. Eddie, let's talk a little bit about the Sun Bowl, right? Because you've been associated with the Sun Bowl now for a couple of years. A lot of us in El Paso have been
7
watching
years.
Left and right. We've, it's the premier game of football in the city of El Paso. This game that we just witnessed this year between Pitt and UCLA has to be the most exciting Sun Bowl there has been, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, it's up there. It is. Again, speaking of especially a recent history, right? Those of us who remember, those of us who have watched many games, this is up there. I know for me in particular, I've been a full-time employee with Sun Bowl for 7 years now. I've been associated with the Sun Bowl working games in some kind of capacity for at least 10 years now. And this definitely is the top of my list of all those games that I've been a part of. I mean, just even the last minute of the game. And it was so awesome because the night before, my family we're having a discussion about, hey, we're not leaving the game early. My younger cousins were telling my parents and my tío and my tía, hey guys, we're staying for the whole game no matter what, okay? So they ended up staying for the whole game, and wow, was that the right choice to make? And it always blows my mind when I see people, just in general, not specifically for this game, but just in general, when people leave games early. Never understand it. Even if it's a blowout, I don't get it. Oh, I want to beat the traffic. What traffic? We live in Las Cruces, El Paso. Come on.
Yeah.
I mean, unless there's an accident on the highway or something, don't worry about traffic. You're there. You paid a ticket. You're saying you're supportive. You're saying you love sports. Stick through it till the end, because that's when it matters. That's when you're going to find out who's going to win, who's going to lose. It just makes no sense that people don't want to see the end result of the game.
Eddie, talk about the fact that, you mentioned you've been part of this game for 11 years, and I think that it speaks volumes since you're in charge of the media relations. I mean, everybody and their brother up there in the press box was just enjoying the atmosphere. When I hear media from around the country talking about, from the food to the environment and, of course, ultimately the end product, which was the game, talk about how you've seen this game improve and the respectability that this bowl game continuously gets every single year, especially with a finale and an ending like this that we saw this year.
Yeah, it's so awesome, Brandon. Again, man, I just get excited when you talk about things like this that we're talking about right now, because you were in the press box, Brandon, and you felt the atmosphere and the environment there, and it was just a wonderful environment, and just the excitement of it all. The excitement from when I get there, because typically I get there anytime between 7 a.m. to the stadium and 8 a.m., right? And I'm typically one of the very first people into the press box. And, okay, it's like the calm before the storm. 10 o'clock hits, and here comes the storm, but it's an exciting storm. It's one of those storms you want to, like a storm chaser, right? That's you're getting excited for chasing that storm. But once that kickoff goes, oh man, it's just on. And then you just know, wow, okay, we're in the game. Let's enjoy this moment. Let's just take it all in, right? And it's like you said, Brandon, year after year, we get texts, phone calls, emails, whatever it may be, to tell us, man, thank you guys for your hospitality. Thank you for providing this. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for giving us a ride, whatever it may be, because we've come to find out that not many other bowl games do it like we do, where we go above and beyond for our visitors. And that's, what we're known for. And we're going to continue to be known for that, because we're going to continue to do that. And Brandon, you can let me know right here on the air, and you could tell Mr. Robert how he might maybe missed out. What did you think of the media meal, for example?
Oh my goodness, the media meal, it's the greatest spread in the world. I mean, and the best words that I heard were I could go back for seconds. They said, they took my ticket, and then at halftime, Dookie says, well, you can go back for seconds. I was the first one in line. I mean, you want to talk about delicious Mexican food. My goodness, I think it was Sporties and the flautas and the queso and the fajitas and the chilaquiles. And let me tell you something. The spread never gets old, and then you have the coffee and the donuts and the cookies. And Eddie signed me up. I will never miss that spread, my friend. Best spread in town. Phenomenal.
Well, now here's the. I'm gonna do this. I shouldn't do this, but I'm going to do this. Okay. If you stick through the whole game and you stay there and you do your post game write up, your post game work there in the press box, I provide a nice adult beverage before you leave.
That's all you had to say.
Look at Robert's like, we're gonna do a post game Fire and Ice episode in the press box next year.
So what I was wanting to do, what I was like thinking of doing would be kind of fun, was if we had like a quote unquote Manning cast version of the Sun Bowl, right? Like we just stream it live. You can have Brandon and I calling the game the way that we would call a game, which we are pretty professional. We have done football games to go. Yeah,
sure we have.
So we do ourselves a little Manning cast version of it. We stream it on whatever website you want us to stream it on. And we have a good time at that. I think that'd be really cool. We take advantage of that other medium.
Yeah. We could look into that, but the challenging part is that CBS holds a lot of rights to all that stuff live and in games. But I like the idea.
That was a resounding no, sir.
I'm trying to be nice. I'm Fire and Ice. Love the idea, though.
It is Fire and Ice. We are live over here at Union Draft House. Once again, we got our guy Eddie Morelos from the Sun Bowl Association joining us here, talking about the Sun Bowl, all the fun stuff that's going on with that. I do want to ask this question though, because I love the fact that the Sun Bowl kind of stands alone. It's got its own, day in what seems like just a plethora of a bunch of ESPN games. You got the Sun Bowl that kind of stands out alone. It gets its own audience, and it kind of generates its own thing. Are you ever surprised with the fact that this game always pulls in a great number, one, in the fans coming to the game live, and then two, on the TV where people are, injecting this game because they absolutely love it?
I'm not surprised. It's an expectation for me, to be honest. And I honestly, truly, I honestly, truly believe that this game can be sold out year after year after year. The people of El Paso love the game. They love the event. They love the week of it. I mean, I don't know if you guys ever go to any of the other events, but if you go check out any of the other events, for example, they had to change the Fan Fiesta this year, and they did a Battle of the Bands over at Fort Bliss, which turned out spectacular, by the way. But the people of El Paso are really bought into this, and times have changed a little bit with technology and where people's interests are at. But I still truly believe with all my heart that this game can sell out year after year after year after year, 50,000 plus, whatever the capacity is at the time of with reconstruction and stuff like that. It should and it could sell out year after year after year. For me, it's an expectation. The broadcast is always spectacular. I always enjoy going. Like it takes me like a day or two to get back and watch the broadcast, but and when I do watch it, I'm like blown away how beautiful it looks, how spectacular it looks, the professionalism of it. And then this year, for example, I got to send footage from some of my interns so that they could use in their pregame little show or whatever. And to see those little clips from my interns, oh man, I just lose it. I lose it because that when deep down inside, one of my biggest goals is to help my interns get more experience, get real experience, and to eventually go and get great jobs in this world of journalism, mass communications, and now digital journalism is what it is nowadays.
Eddie, I tell you what, I really appreciate, your time today. And we basically always enjoy having you on. But we're going to make it a point before next year's game. We want to have you on, preview the game. And I'll tell you what, this is wonderful. We got to have our buddy Eddie on finally, huh? It's been a minute.
Yeah. Hey, let me tell you guys real quick, Robert, you know that I do watch your show as much as I can, when I can, and I engage. I love your topics. I love all the topics you bring up. I love your points of view. It's just so different. And I just, anybody listening or watching this right now, or anybody there at the Union Draft House, correct? You guys are at Union Draft House?
Yes,
They're
sir.
at Union Draft House. I really encourage you guys to subscribe to this show, to ask Robert and Brandon where they can catch it, or you guys can catch the show at, because I'm telling you, it's one of the most fun shows that I take in, and I do take in a lot of sports shows. You guys know that. I have my own sports little show, as you can see, the Sports More podcast, real quick drop. But your guys' show is so fun. I love the topics. I love engaging, especially when you guys have your late night little shindigs with your three buddies, having some beers, and it's so fun. It's a lot of fun.
Awesome, Eddie. I thank you so much once again. Eddie Morelos on behalf of the Sun Bowl Association and, of course, the Sports and More podcast. Check that out. You can always subscribe. Eddie, tell them where they can subscribe, because I'm assuming it's going to be Apple. It's going to be Spotify. It's going to be everywhere that you get podcasts.
Oh, man, I wish it was in more places, but right now I'm focusing on I put all my episodes on our Facebook page, Sports and More Podcast. You can find our Facebook page and see all the episodes there. I do share a lot of news there as well. I also have them on Twitter at Sports and More POD. At Sports and More POD. People seem to be engaging more on Facebook, so that's where I do a lot of my focus, but I do share on both platforms. Spotify and Anchor FM are the two main platforms where I really push out my podcast. I don't do any video right now because I don't believe, or let me just say this, I truly believe all my listeners, they all listen while they're doing other things, whether it's cleaning, working on their cars, yard work, whatever it may be, driving. They all listen while they're doing something else. So I really stay focused on the audio only. But this is my second time using StreamYard, so we might be doing this more often now that I know I can connect this way.
Hey,
thank you so much.
That's
We
the best way to
appreciate
do it.
you. It's good to have you on, my buddy. Really,
Yes,
thank you.
sir. Thank you, guys. This has been a lot of fun. It's such an honor. I really appreciate it.
We appreciate you, Eddie.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Once again, thank you to our guy, Eddie Morelos from the Sun Bowl Association. Absolutely love the stuff that they're doing with the Sun Bowl, Brandon. I can't wait to the next game. I'm going to find a way. We will find a way that we're going to have.
Shtick, I'd like to.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Well, I mean, even if it's, we set up in like the weight room or something like that, we just have a camera pointed to the back of the field, and it's just you and I just talking about the game.
That'd be great.
Right? Like that's all I care. Like I don't care about actually watching
we've got experience. You and I, we've done our play-by and our color. Absolutely. You know what I mean?
One of the cool things I really like about ESPN embracing that stuff like the Manning cast and everything is that you got to see in real time just the absolute disgust that Peyton Manning had whenever Brett Maher missed those field goals, those extra points in Tampa Bay, where Peyton Manning was like, what are we doing? Like, why is this guy still even kicking? Like, we should just be going for two right now. And just seeing him have an absolute meltdown because you knew that's who he was as a football player.
Yeah, well, I mean, hey, he had his moments, right? It's just like anyone else. But then again, don't we all? Don't we all?
All right, Brandon. So let's get back to the NFL, back to because obviously that's what the sports are all about this week, right? Congratulations to the 49ers and the Eagles, as much as it pains me to say that as a Cowboys fan. Congratulations to the Chiefs and the Bengals for making it to the conference championship round. Now, let's talk about the actual game itself, right? These next two games that we have coming up, Brandon. Let's start off with Kansas City and Cincinnati. Cincinnati has won the last 3 games against Kansas City. All of these games by 3 points, so it's not like it's a huge blowout, but it just seems that Joe Burrow has what it takes to come from behind victories against the Kansas City Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes was hurt. Then he wasn't hurt. I don't know if you saw the way that the spread changed over the last week. Kansas City, at the end of the day, starts off as a 4.5-point favorite. News comes out that Mahomes has a high ankle sprain, drops down to a 3-point underdog against Cincinnati. Mahomes is okay, back to being a 1-point favorite. That's how important Patrick Mahomes is in sports.
No doubt.
It just wobbles that way. I love this matchup. I think it's going to be a dynamite game. Patrick Mahomes has not had a setback at all. He's not missing Tyreek Hill at all. If anything, I think Tyreek is probably missing Patrick Mahomes a lot right now with the uncertainty with Tua Tagovailoa and stuff in Miami. Who do you have in this game between the Cincinnati Bengals and the Kansas City Chiefs?
Cincinnati is arguably the best team in the NFL right now, and I told you they were my pick, in the AFC, and I'm sticking with them. I really, really am. I just think that I don't want to say they necessarily have Kansas City's number, but I just think their defense is very gritty. I love Joe Burrow. I think he's one of the top 2 or 3 quarterbacks in the NFL this year and this league right now as we speak. And we are in the midst of seeing a great quarterback when it's all said and done. Maybe, who knows, one of the best ever as we're watching him right now develop. They're extremely well coached. They're resilient. They don't really care where they have to go to win. They're still obviously upset about last year in the Super Bowl losing by a narrow margin. And a high ankle sprain is usually an injury where you need several weeks to recover. And if there wasn't the AFC Championship game, then clearly Mahomes would be probably missing a few weeks. So I think it's going to affect his mobility. I think it's going to affect him in general. And not to say that Kansas City certainly can't get it done, especially at home. But in the end, I clearly think this matchup favors Cincinnati. And I think Cincinnati at this point is going to be a tough out. I'm just very impressed by what they've been able to do the last month plus. A great victory in Buffalo in a hostile environment in crappy weather. I just think Cincinnati has all the pieces of the puzzle to get it done. I got the Bengals in this one.
One of the coolest things you see about Joe Burrow, obviously the nickname Joe Cool, right? Joe Shiesty. Right. It seems like nothing gets to this guy.
No.
The one thing that I will say that I'm encouraged by, and maybe it's just the propaganda films that are out there that Kansas City's putting out, Patrick Mahomes seems like he's doing okay. He's still mobile from practices that they've shown and everything like that. So maybe it's not near as bad as what we thought it was. There's grades to how severe some of these ankle injuries can be. Maybe his was more on the mild side than it was on the severe side, right? So maybe Kansas City is hedging their bets on that. Cincinnati's defense doesn't really allow the quarterback to run all that much anyway, simply because I want to give a shout out to our guy Victor from over here at Union Draft House, letting us come on such short notice and set up as we do Fire and Ice here. Once again, 7:30 Sunland Park Drive in the parking lot of Sunland Park Mall. But Cincinnati's defense doesn't necessarily allow running back or quarterbacks to be able to be mobile and run around and do all that stuff. They shut down that ability from Josh Allen. What ruined that game for Josh Allen was, once again, I thought Buffalo just simply doesn't have the weapons that Cincinnati has, right? Gabe Davis, the number 2 wide receiver in Buffalo, would be like the 4th or 5th wide receiver in Cincinnati. That's how deep Cincinnati is. Cook and the other running back, Hines, in Buffalo would be the 3rd or 4th option running backs in Cincinnati, because obviously Cincinnati's got a very deep team. But there's always something about Kansas City, right? All the issues that everybody had about Kansas City, all the knocks that you could put on Kansas City always came down to they cannot run the ball.
Right.
Pacheco has changed that.
Yeah, Pacheco's great. He really is.
So you got a dude who's a hard runner, who's able to kind of alleviate some of that stuff, some of those narratives that the Kansas City Chiefs had in the past. Mahomes is still that guy. Mm-hmm. I don't care what anybody says. He's going to go down as, if not the greatest, one of the greatest.
No doubt.
And yes, it's only been 5 years, but he can retire right now and be a Hall of Famer. Mm-hmm. That's how good his career has been, right? I like what I'm seeing from both of these teams. I love just the way that Joe Burrow carries himself. There's nothing that phases that guy. But in order to be the man, you got to beat the man, brother. And I am not ready right now, as someone who my nickname growing up was Chief. I am not ready to give up on the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't think Patrick Mahomes is ready to just roll over and die at this moment. I think they've got a lifetime of runs ahead of them, but I think they've got a wide open window right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I would love there's going to be fireworks in this game. Like it's going to be a back and forth battle. But I'm more on the Kansas City side. I just there's something about Mahomes where it's got that Brady quality to it where I'm not ever going to choose against him unless it's in jest, right? I love Cincinnati. I think Cincinnati's got a bright future. I love Kansas City. I think Kansas City is going to be the better team on this upcoming Sunday, Brandon. That's just
okay. I mean, I think we'll agree to disagree. I mean, certainly going to be a good game. That could come down to a last-second field goal.
Are we going to put agrees on it?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll put agrees on it. Yeah, sure. I mean, I got the Cincinnati.
So Cincinnati, Kansas City. That's who, or Cincinnati. That's who Brandon has. Kansas City. That's who I've got. David, who do you think is going to win that game?
I think the Bengals, but by a very narrow margin. And the game may come down to a couple of calls that'll have to be reviewed. Hello, New York!
So David's got Cincinnati thinking that it's going to be a close game, and obviously there's going to be some reviews, and we know how detrimental that can be, especially in trying to keep the momentum of a football game going forward. Brandon, the next game on here, and the game that I think is super interesting, right? Obviously, if you're in this Final Four grouping of the championship games in the NFL, you're good. Flatly, like you're a good team. You deserve to be there. You got two monsters right now who hang their hat on how well they can play defensively. In Philadelphia, that great defense they got over there just seems that they come after you wave after wave, taking on San Francisco, who also has a great defense that comes after you wave after wave. Two very explosive offenses. What do you think is going to happen in this game, Brandon?
I originally, when the postseason began, said that San Francisco was my team in the NFC. I was extremely impressed the way Philadelphia was able to get it done easily against the New York Football Giants last week, and I think Hurts played extremely well despite not being 100%. With all that being said, San Francisco, there's just something about them. The way Purdy's playing. It's going to be interesting to see what happens next year in terms of who you decide to go with. To me, you stick with the guy that's red hot, and Purdy's been red hot. He's been playing well under pressure. He's been getting it done. He's been finding the receivers he needs to find, and obviously we know that Christian McCaffrey has been an absolute game changer. But to me, that defense has been absolutely stunning. I feel that San Francisco is going to get it done in what is an absolutely brutal, hostile environment at the Link in Philadelphia with a bunch of Michigan fans, and David can allude to that. But when it's all said and done, San Francisco, you can't screw with momentum, and they've won, is it 11 or 12 in a row at this point? I mean, they haven't lost since, they lost to KC back in, early October or whatever it was. Purdy has been stunning. Kittle was amazing last week. They just have so many weapons. And to me, yes, it's going to be a defensive battle because you have two good defenses, but you also have two good offenses too. I like San Francisco. I think they go back to the Super Bowl, and it's San Francisco against Cincinnati. I'm picking the road teams. Oh, my goodness, in both games. I must be crazy.
Oh, so that does not seem to bode well for you.
Well,
the light bulb just went off whenever you said that. I agree with you. I think San Francisco, I got to watch them in person. Right. Well, I got to go down to Mexico City, watch that game on Monday night. They were an overwhelming offensive and defensive unit.
Sure.
They come after you just wave after wave. It's almost like a tsunami of just elite athletes that they've got, right? You mentioned Kittle. You mentioned Christian McCaffrey. They've also got Deebo Samuel. They got Brandon Ayuk. They've got Elijah Mitchell, who, they got a three-headed monster basically at running back down there or up there in San Francisco. The Philadelphia Eagles, they've got a stout defense, but they've also got a lot of weapons on offense, man. Dallas Goedert, a very underrated tight end, right? I'll call him George Kittle light. Miles Sanders, good enough to be as good as at least two of those three running backs that the San Francisco 49ers have. Then you've got the game changer in A.J. Brown, right? Devontae Smith has come up, and you've seen his growth.
They're loaded.
That offense is absolutely dynamic. One of the interesting stats that I saw just, looking at San Francisco's defenses, you had Joey Bosa leading the NFL in sacks. He had 19 sacks this year. The next highest sack getter on their team had 5. That means they've got one guy making it to the quarterback. Philadelphia has an overwhelming offensive line. They've got a fantastic offensive line. Lane Johnson, Jason Kelsey, those dudes legitimately, I don't mean this as a joke or any type of slight or anything like that. Those guys should have votes for the NFL MVP this year because those offensive lines are not the same whenever those guys are out. We saw how bad that line was the 2 games that Lane Johnson was out because Hurts got hurt and then they just gave up a huge duck egg to the Dallas Cowboys. You know what I mean?
Yes,
So-
sir. I do.
Whenever I look at these teams, I put them side to side. It's going to be an absolute bloodbath. It's not going to be pretty football, I don't think. You got 2 teams that can run the ball, and the thing that I think it's going to come down to right now is who do you trust more at quarterback? Brock Purdy seems to have the sun shining on his ass right now, like our guy Woody Harrelson would have said in White Man Can't Jump, right? Jalen Hurts is that dude. He is a good quarterback. I told you at the beginning of the season he was that guy.
Yep.
I have stood by it. I feel vindicated now that is a good effing quarterback, man. I've got to go with the Philadelphia Eagles in this one.
Understandable. I mean, they're at home and they played great last week. I don't blame you. Now, I will not get you agrees on this one. We do have agrees on the AFC Championship. I'm not that much of a schmuck. That's for
much
sure.
less confident on this one.
Well,
huh?
I mean, it's tough. I mean, Daver.
It could go into overtime, maybe double overtime.
So who wins?
I couldn't tell you. All I can think of is
The guy from
that it may
Pennsylvania
go to
couldn't
double
tell us who's gonna
overtime.
win. Really?
Yeah,
He likes
I mean,
Philadelphia.
it's-
I'll speak
it's-
for him.
and-
I'll be
and
his
what's gonna
consigliere here.
determine it is how well players can play through their injuries and how many close calls have to be reviewed.
All right, so David thinks maybe we get an overtime, maybe we get a double overtime. I think that'd be great, right? Just football forever, injected into my veins. That's the way that I feel that it should go, right? But I think Brandon and I both know. I feel like David's just being sly right here. He's a Philadelphia Eagles fan. He doesn't want to say Philadelphia. He doesn't want to try to jinx
He's
the
from
team.
Allentown, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
He likes Philadelphia.
Listening to John Placenta say Philadelphia.
We know who he likes. He likes the Eagles.
Yeah. No, so we're de facto saying David's going for the Eagles,
Yeah.
even though he won't say it because I feel like there might be a little superstition or something going on right there. But again, everybody, we're hanging out over here at Union Draft House, 730 Sunland Park Drive in the mall or in the parking lot of the mall, Sunland Park Mall. Check out all the specials they got. As a matter of fact, today they got $4 sours and ciders. They've got the $2 build your own pizza. We've been eating on that thing already. Thanks to our guy David hooking us up.
Phenomenal.
$20
here too.
mimosa pitchers, Brandon, on Sundays. $20 mimosa pitchers on Sundays. You cannot top that. You talk about your brunch day. That's the way that you go right there with the mimosa pitchers here at Union Draft House. Some of the ciders they got the Ace ciders. They got pear, mango, and guava. Sours, they've got Sippin' Pretty, Elephants on Parade, Prairie Rainbow, Sherbet, and Marbelita. Come check them out. All the stuff they've got a whole bunch of specials throughout the week as well. On Monday, $5 3-topping pizzas. You can't beat it.
Oh, those are good.
On Tuesday, $4 New Mexico beers. That's Marble. That's Bosques. That's Santa Fe's. If you haven't been to Union Draft House, Brandon, there's over 100 beers for you to choose from.
It's amazing, and it's a great place. I mean, you got 2 levels here. You got TVs everywhere. I mean, like you said, an abundance of beers, and the pizza really is very good. It's very good thin crust pizza, in my opinion.
Our guy Tommy Cananza saying what's good, Tip, and what's good, Iceman. He's got the 49ers and the Bengals in the Super Bowl. That's the teams that you've got. So maybe, he's kind of hedging his
Hey, that'd
bets
be
with
a
what you
rematch
got.
of Super Bowl from, 89, I think. 49ers and Bengals, yep. Chris Collinsworth was with the Bengals.
I was 5
I was like,
or about to be 5.
yeah, I was pretty young, but the point is it would be a Super Bowl rematch. Just thought about
A
that.
Super Bowl rematch, 33 years in the
Hey,
making.
could happen. Could happen.
I absolutely love that. Hey, they've held on to this grudge match for years and
Right.
both decided to be absolutely feudal for 30 years. And here we are, finally able to get it going.
just kind of caught my mind right now. I was thinking about that.
I'm glad that you would have. I'm
like, wait a minute, that's a rematch.
even being the historian in sports that I love being, I would have never been like, you know what? Yeah,
This doesn't have. I mean, you don't. I think the only other rematch in Super Bowl history was the Bills and Cowboys, if I'm not mistaken.
the Chiefs and the Packers, the very first 2 Super Bowls.
Okay. Let's talk modern era then. Yeah. Okay, but yeah, so I guess then the third time then we would have a rematch, which just doesn't happen very often. It's kind of neat.
I'm gonna go through this. I will find us more than two rematches.
That's
I feel
There's
like
no
there
other
has to
rematches
be.
in Super Bowl.
I feel like
history.
there has to be.
There's not. That's it. You got the
The
first
Steelers
two-
and the
you saw
Cowboys.
the first two-
They face each other a bunch of times in the Super Bowl.
Oh, maybe you're right. Okay, never mind. Let's just we'll save this topic for next time when I actually have time to do research. Thank you.
Brandon taking his L. I appreciate it, though. I really do appreciate it. Everybody, once again, I want to thank you so much for tuning in right here to Fire and Ice. We are live at Union Draft House, 730 Sunland Park Drive in the parking lot of Sunland Park Mall. Come check out the great specials they've got. Like I said, every Saturday, the $4 sours and ciders, and, of course, the $2 build-your-own pizza. Obviously, Brandon, it would not be a Fire and Ice episode without our lovely sponsors over at 3 Missions Brewery, 10179 Socorro Road, Socorro's one and only craft beer brewery. Check out the new Socorro Blondie. They made some changes to it. It's absolutely delicious. And, of course, the brand new, they just debuted it last week, El Trio Membrillo. Go check out those amazing beers that they've got out there at 3 Missions Brewery, 10179 Socorro Road. Our guy Tommy Carranza saying, don't want either the 49ers or the Eagles in the Super Bowl, but hey, it is what it is. I just really hate the Eagles more. And he doesn't want Eagles fans acting like they've won 10 Super Bowls like they did the last time whenever they won their first. That was wild the way the city of Philadelphia partied after they won their first. But I don't blame them, dude.
Win a
It's your
Super
first
Bowl, man.
Super Bowl.
I mean, it's a Super Bowl. There's a lot of teams that don't have one. So hey, congratulations. right?
Minus the guy that ate the horse shit.
Well, that's an idiot for you. That's an absolute moron. But there's plenty of those. I mean, you eat horse shit, and you have to be a deranged individual. But anyways, let's yeah. Anyways, I
Or
can
as
think
I
of a
call
lot
it-
better things to eat than horse shit. That's for
Or
sure.
as I call it, a Wednesday night. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning into the show. We'll see you all next week.